When I was 16, my family took me on a camping trip, but they left me alone in the woods. I was carrying firewood back to the campsite when I heard my dad say, "If he wants to survive, he'll figure it out." About an hour later, I saw them drive away without even looking back. I was lost, hungry, and scared for days before someone finally helped me. I didn't see my family again for 6 years. Then, last month, my mom showed up at my job crying. They had said the trip was meant for bonding, no phones, no TV, just time together in nature. That's what my mom told me. Anyway, my younger sister didn't come, some excuse about dance class, but my older brother and both parents were there. I was skeptical from the start. We weren't exactly the kind of family that did quality time. Still, I tried to make the most of it. We hiked, fished, and set up camp near a quiet patch of forest. That night, around the fire, things almost felt normal. My dad even smiled, a real one, not the thin, tight-lipped kind I was used to. The next morning, my dad asked me to gather firewood before breakfast. "We need a good pile for cooking in warmth later," he said. I wandered off, maybe 100 yards from camp. It wasn't far, but the woods were thick, and I took my time picking dry pieces. That's when I heard his voice, not directed at me, too far off to see, but clear enough. "If he wants to survive, he'll figure it out." My stomach dropped. I froze, clutching the branches. My first thought was that I'd misheard. Maybe he was talking about an animal or joking. But then I heard the car doors, one slammed shut, then another, then the engine turned over. I ran. I tripped over roots and cut through brush, the firewood scattering behind me. When I got back to the clearing, the tents were gone, the chairs, the cooler, everything. I ran to where the car had been parked, empty space, dirt tire tracks, they were gone. At first, I waited. An hour passed. Then, too stunned to move, I sat on a log, convinced it was a prank, some twisted lesson or scare tactic. They'd be back by lunch. I thought maybe they were testing me. But the sun kept rising, and they never came back. By nightfall, it was clear they'd abandoned me. I had no phone, no map, just a hoodie, a half-full water bottle, and the leftover scraps of firewood. Panic set in. I built a small fire. It barely stayed lit. I didn't sleep, the sounds of the forest made sure of that. Over the next few days, I wandered, hungry, cold, delirious. I tried to follow rivers and climbed hills to look for roads. Twice, I thought I heard people, but it was just wind and animals. I got scratched up, my lips cracked. I hallucinated my mom calling my name once, but when I turned, there were only trees. I don't know how many days passed, 3, 4, I wasn't keeping track. Eventually, I stumbled onto a dirt road. A ranger found me, said I looked like I'd been out there for a week. I barely remember the conversation, just the warmth of his truck and the radio playing something soft while I passed out. When I told the authorities what happened, they didn't believe it at first. Who would? What kind of parent leaves their kid in the woods with no supplies? They opened an investigation. My parents claimed it was a misunderstanding, that I'd wandered off, gotten lost, that they'd searched for hours and called for help. There were number 911 calls, no reports, no proof they'd done anything, and I had no way to prove they'd left me intentionally. I was 16, with no income and no guardian. They tried to return me to them. I refused. I told the social worker flat out that I would run if they sent me back, that I'd rather sleep under a bridge, that I would never trust them again. Eventually, someone listened. A local family with foster experience took me in temporarily. I kept my head down, got through high school, and when I turned 18, I disappeared. New phone, new city, new life. For 6 years, I never looked back until last month. It happened on a Thursday, just past noon. I was in the back office at the small tech firm where I work. Nothing flashy, just software maintenance for mid-size clients. I was reviewing documentation when one of the interns popped his head in and said, "Hey, there's someone asking for you up front. Says she's your mom." I froze. Those words shouldn't have meant anything after 6 years. They should have been laughable. A mistake, a mix-up. But my body reacted before my mind caught up, hands cold, jaw tight. The world narrowed to a tunnel. I walked to the lobby expecting a ghost, and there she was, older, thinner, eyes puffy as if she hadn't slept in days. She wore a pale cardigan, the kind she used to wear when she taught Sunday school. Her hair was streaked with gray now, tied back the same way it used to be when she barked orders while making dinner. Her face lit up when she saw me. but I didn't return the expression. She took a shaky step forward. I didn't know where else to go. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, watching her hold her purse like it might fall apart. I got your email address from an old financial account, she added quickly. We had you as an emergency contact on something. It wasn't intentional, I swear. I kept hoping I'd find a way to reach you. That's how they got to me, through a joint credit union account they'd opened in my name when I was a kid, probably to dodge taxes or stash money. I'd forgotten all about it, never closed it. It was barely active but still technically linked to my name. That email account, one I hadn't used in years, tied to that ancient account and a few student loan forms. A ghost trail I hadn't thought to wipe clean. I should have changed it. I should have known they'd look eventually. She didn't cry right away. She just stood there, waiting for permission to breathe. And when I didn't say anything, she broke. Tears poured as she began apologizing in fragments about how things fell apart after I left, how my dad got sick, how she tried to reach out before but didn't know how they never stopped thinking about me. I listened, not because I wanted to, but because some part of me needed to hear it to confirm they hadn't just moved on like I feared, that leaving your teenage son to survive in the woods wasn't something they all just shrugged off and buried. I need you to know, she whispered, I wasn't part of it. I didn't know what your father was planning. Not really, I said. That was the first moment I looked her in the eyes. There was shame in them and something worse, hesitation, as if even now she wasn't willing to fully condemn what happened. I took a breath. I'm at work, I said. I know, she nodded. I wanted to tell you before it's too late. He's dying. That stopped me cold. Liver failure, late stage. He doesn't have much time. I didn't respond. My jaw tightened again. My hands stayed in my pockets so she couldn't see them shaking. He wants to see you, she said, voice cracking, to say goodbye. I should have walked away, told her to leave, blocked her on every platform I hadn't already burned to the ground, but instead, I just said, I'll think about it. Then I turned, walked back inside, and closed the door behind me. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall for hours. Sleep never came. Instead, I kept replaying that moment in the woods, the way the trees looked, the weight of the firewood in my arms, my father's voice, the sound of the engine. If he wants to survive, he'll figure it out. It had never really left me, not through foster care, not through college, not even when I landed my first real job and started building something stable. I had never unpacked it, never talked to a therapist, just locked it in a box and tried to build a life around it. But seeing her again, my mother opened the box whether I wanted it or not. By the weekend, I agreed to meet them, her. Really, she was staying at a motel a couple of towns over. I didn't tell anyone, not friends, not coworkers, not the woman I'd been casually seeing. This wasn't something I could explain. I didn't know what I expected when I arrived, maybe another lie, another manipulation. What I didn't expect was to find my father in a hospice bed. He looked nothing like the man I remembered, gaunt, hollow-cheeked, an oxygen line under his nose, skin like parchment. He didn't even look strong enough to lift a remote. My mother stepped aside when I entered. She gave me a look, one part hopeful, one part terrified, and then left us alone. It was quiet for a long time. Finally, his eyes shifted toward me, clouded, tired, but aware. You lived, he said, voice like gravel. That was it. No apology, no explanation, just a statement of fact, as if it justified everything. You left me in the woods, I said flatly. He exhaled slow, like he'd been waiting for this. I thought it would break you, he said, or make you strong. I blinked. You thought abandoning your son with no food or shelter would make him strong? He didn't answer. He looked past me, somewhere into the corner of the ceiling. Maybe he couldn't meet my eyes. Maybe he didn't care. I did survive, I said, but not because of you, because a stranger found me, because someone cared more than my own blood. Still nothing. So I kept going. You don't get credit for that. You don't get to smile and call it some lesson. You didn't build me. You tried to break me. You wanted me to suffer, and I did. I had no one, no money, no roof. You turned your back and never looked back. His breathing was heavier now. A wet cough broke the silence. I'm not here for you, I said. I'm here to see for myself that the man who left me to die is now the one wasting away in a bed he can't leave. He turned his head just a little, maybe to say something more, but I was done. I survived, I said again, firmer, not because of you, in spite of you. Then I walked out. A week passed. I didn't return any of the calls, not from my mother, not from the unknown number she kept using after I blocked her main one. I didn't even listen to the voicemail she left. I just deleted it. There was nothing else to say. He died on a Thursday. I found out through a generic email sent from the hospice office, a brief message that began with, "We regret to inform you," and ended with "arrangements pending." No obituary, no funeral notice, just a finality that came with less ceremony than a traffic ticket. I thought maybe I'd feel something: anger, relief, even guilt, but all I felt was silence. I didn't go to the funeral, assuming there was one. I didn't send flowers, a card, or a message. I stayed home, cleaned the apartment, folded laundry, and made dinner like it was any other day. Because it was. That night, I sat on the balcony of my small apartment, the one I'd earned, paid for, and lived in without help or handouts. The air was cool, the city was quiet, and for the first time since I was 16, I realized I didn't feel afraid anymore, not of him, not of the past, not even of who I used to be. I spent so long trying to prove I was worth something, that I wasn't weak, that being thrown away didn't define me. I pushed harder than anyone around me ever had, not for success, but for survival. Now I didn't need to prove anything. They were gone, and I was still here. A few days later, an envelope came in the mail. No return address, just my name and handwriting I hadn't seen since childhood. Inside was a short letter from my mother, 2 sentences. "I still don't know why he did it, but I'm sorry I didn't stop him." And beneath that, a folded cashier's check for $4,200. I stared at it for a long time before I tore it in half and dropped it in the trash. It wasn't about the money. It never was. That weekend, I drove 2 hours to the old campground. I found the same trail where I had come out of the woods all those years ago. I stood under the same trees, breathing in the same air I once thought would be my last. Then I turned around and walked away. I wasn't lost this time. I wasn't left behind. I was just done. If this story hit you hard, or if you couldn't stop watching, please like the video and leave a comment. What would you have done if your family left you in the woods at 16? And don't forget to subscribe. I've got more powerful, emotional, real-life stories coming every week. Thanks for being here, and remember, sometimes the best revenge is just surviving and living a good life.